Hello, and welcome to my presentation on the lack of racial diversity in American government. Introduction. Racial diversity is spreading and growing all over the USA. There has already been significant progress in institutions such as universities, companies, and even government positions. However, white people still take up the vast majority of high-ranking positions. This bias comes from centuries of Eurocentrism. Since white people are the majority race, they prefer to elect or appoint a white person for their government. This is dangerous for minorities because they will not be represented well. Therefore, keeping the government racially diverse is necessary to create a government that truly works for everyone. There will be a great demographic shift, and by the year 2050, there will be no clear racial or ethnic majority. Therefore, white people will become increasingly overrepresented, while minorities will become increasingly underrepresented. Also, diversifying the government will bring new perspectives and ideas in. These new ideas can power innovation, which can increase business and productivity. This makes the diversity issue very important in order to repair and bring innovation to the American democracy. So far, current statistics have shown progress towards racial diversity in the government. However, some sources say that there is some regression and that the diversity is still not nearly enough. In the chart, you can see that more and more Congress seats in the Senate and the House are being occupied by minorities, such as the Native Americans, Asians, Hispanics, and Blacks. One source projects that the SES will disproportionately represent people of color. Despite the increasing upwards trend, the racial composition of the SES will likely stay at a similar level compared to now without any decisive major action. Minorities currently make up 34% of the workforce, but only 17% of the SES. In 2030, the projection will be 49% of civilian jobs will be taken up by minorities, yet still only make up 29% of the SES. So, while it is slightly better in 2030, the representation will be far from adequate. And by the way, the SES, or the Senior Executive Service, is a group of approximately 7,000 government employees that run federal agencies such as NASA or the CDC. So there has already been lots of thinking about how the government should represent its citizens and the need for racial equality, especially in the Enlightenment period. At that time, several revolutions were taking place, such as the French Revolution and slavery revolutions. So below are two quotes, and I'm going to connect them to this racial diversity issue. So the first one is, "His own particular interest may suggest other things to him than the common interest does," from Rousseau, from The Social Contract. So this quotation can be applied to this diversity issue because white people tend to make policies that benefit themselves the most. However, these policies sometimes are harmful to minority races and so therefore are not in the common interest or the general will. And the second one is, "The white colonists who were seated among us loudly complained of ministerial tyranny, but were careful not to speak of their own," by Henry Gregoire, from The Letter to the Citizens of Colors and Free Negroes of Saint Domingue. This quotation highlights one of the problems to overcoming the lack of diversity in government. There are often legislators and leaders that complain about racial equality, yet minorities are still vastly underrepresented in government, and sometimes it just feels like the diversity it's not diversifying fast enough. So how can this be solved? There are a number of obstacles that stand in the way of racially diversifying the government. The power of incumbency makes it difficult for challengers to build a successful campaign. Most of these incumbents in government are white people. Combined with the existing racism, Minority challengers will have a very difficult time replacing the white incumbents. The way to create a more diverse Congress and SCS is to educate and create talented minority individuals that can make qualified strong contenders to the incumbents. Focusing on the least represented races will be the most effective use of time for this strategy. In this article that was cited, it suggested that since Hispanics are the most underrepresented, the government should focus on Hispanics first, incorporating more Hispanics. So to sum it all up, while there is still an upwards trend in diversifying the government, there are still minorities that are very underrepresented. There has already been lots of thought in the Enlightenment about racial equality and the ideal function of government, and diversifying the government will create innovation and make the American democracy work for the common good of everyone, or Rousseau's general will. Unfortunately, diversifying the government will be difficult because it is difficult for minorities to run against an incumbent, and most incumbents in the government are white. So here are all of the sources and articles that I used, and I also used the writings from Enlightenment primary sources. Thank you for watching.